Right. Sometimes if I remember about like my journey into Web3,
Right.
sometimes like I try not to cry.
Talking about empowering, so does that mean I can run a node?
Anybody, anywhere
Yeah.
can actually run these nodes.
Node. Why should I actually run a node? Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Builders Blog, where I interview founders and builders in the African Web3 ecosystem. Today, I have a big show with me who is currently focusing on a special niche, which I consider to be very interesting. And that's no other person than the founder of Nodebridge Africa. For the sake of those who don't know what Nodebridge is, Nodebridge supports and educates Africans to run nodes anywhere in Africa, despite the challenges that we face as Africans. And so, without further ado, I would like David Uzochukwu to introduce himself.
Hi everyone, I'm David Uzochukwu, the founder of Nodebridge Africa. Um, I am a software engineer, also a smart contract auditor. Have been in the space, in the Web3 space for a while, and been leading Nodebridge Africa for some few months now. Yeah, just like what he said, what Nodebridge Africa is. We support, we educate, we make research on running nodes in Africa, and really truly making Ethereum truly decentralized.
So, thank you very much for that introduction. Really amazing. One of the things that I've known you to be from the onset is a smart contract auditor. And so, I'm curious as to why you made the not so transition or why you choose to focus on, supporting Africans to like run nodes in Africa. And that's like the major reason for this podcast. But before then, I would like you to give us a little bit about your background, how you got into Web3.
Web3 has been good.
Mm-hmm.
My journey into Web3 has been a great one. So let's say going back, like if I remember about like my journey into Web3,
Right.
sometimes like I try not to cry, because it just looks like I'm actually from a disadvantaged point, but at the same time I try to push through life. So, but I came from my background into Web3 was as a software engineer or as someone who is curious enough to really want to know what's happening um, um, in technology, right?
Right.
I got curious enough to know what blockchain is and jumped into a boot camp. Yeah, there was a boot camp called Web3 Bridge, which was a very great boot camp for me. And after the boot camp, I got a lot of hackathons. I joined several hackathons, which really, really helped my journey into becoming a blockchain developer. After that, also, I started doing security because I really loved also finding bugs and securing a lot of projects, right, from like a security perspective. And after that, I was curious enough also to look into how best do Ethereum actually affect our lives in Africa, right? And then how do we also make this world computer, which is Ethereum, right, really secure? And that's where I founded Nodebridge Africa, right, which is a community also that we're trying to see how we make Ethereum truly decentralized. But yeah, this is like my journey into Web3.
Yeah, amazing. Right. Speaking on the facts that you mentioned, starting from like trading and also moving into like a boot camp, I think one of the major things that stand is exploring stuff. I mean, being curious about things that actually interest you. And I think that's what has brought you to like the stage right now. So moving forward, just a little bit about like, your background and all of those things. What's that one thing that you remember from your childhood that you want to share?
Yeah, very interesting. So I think from my childhood, one of the things I always remember, and when I remember, it gives me joy that it happened. So I have a very sweet mother who anytime she travels as a small child, she gets me gadgets.
Oh, nice.
And when she gets me these gadgets, let's say for instance, there's this gadget she will get for me, and then for 1 week, I will find myself not sleeping.
Oh.
I'm just diving into that gadget, probably a phone, trying to see what the phone is doing. I will go into different settings, like check out different settings, turn on some things that I don't know what they are, turn them off, like that. So I could just find myself in a week, I hardly sleep, and then in fact sometimes I hardly even go to eat. Like I hardly take lunch or dinner because I'm really just on that gadget playing around,
exploring things.
So yeah, that's like one thing I'm so, like from my childhood, like so happy about.
Yeah, I think it's also like resonating what I said, exploring things, exactly. Right? And talking about gadgets, Android or Apple?
Not really. Like so that's the funny thing. So I think those times were like Symbian phones.
Oh, okay.
Like when you had those N series kind of phones, so those are like kind of Sony Ericsson kind of. So those are like kind of gadget. Those times not really the iPhone thing or
era or whatever. All right. I mean, moving forward now, let's like go to like the main course of today's interview. Why Nodebridge actually? Why did you settle to like do this?
So at the same time, just like I just to also put more light, we do smart contract auditing, but why Nodebridge? The truth about this is a lot of people from different parts of the world, we always talk about, in the Ethereum ecosystem, we always talk about decentralization, right? And security of the network. So, but for we to really make this network really secure, it means the network has to be truly decentralized. And decentralization also from a geographical perspective, right? And thus the reason why we have to come about Nodebridge Africa, because we are actually living in Africa. We understand these challenges, right? And obviously, we have 7 continents, right? And Africa is one of it. So if we really want to make Ethereum truly decentralized, right, we need to actually have the nodes distributed in these geographical locations, and Africa is one of it. So also in Africa, we have seen people not actually jumping into this idea of running nodes or making Ethereum truly decentralized because of different challenges and education challenge, hardware, electricity, infrastructure, internet, and so we in Nodebridge, we came up with this community where we find solutions, we educate the community in Africa, right? We make researches to make this running of this node easier and possible in Africa. So that's really why we have Nodebridge today, Nodebridge Africa.
Yeah. I mean, during like the introduction, I mentioned that is a specific niche, like not quite a number of persons are actually talking about, running node in Africa. And myself, I've been exploring different ecosystem, as to how to like set up nodes and all of those things. But most of the time, the hardware requirement and like the electricity requirement is kind of like down, and I'm like, oh, can I actually do this? So when I kind of like found out that Nodebridge is doing that, and I've seen that you guys have actually gone live on some like projects, I'll be like, oh, maybe this thing is actually achievable. And so it brings me to the next question, which is like expatiating more on like, we like to say the vision, which is like empowering Africa node by node.
Or empowering Ethereum node by node.
Yeah. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so let's use empower Ethereum node by node. So you see, just like I said, for Ethereum to be secured, right? For we who are actually users, developers or believers of the network, right? For we to be here in the next 5 years or 7 years or 10 years to still talk about this network, we also have to put our hands together to actually secure this network. So in so doing, we are empowering the network. And that's why we are also, the motto, the vision is, empowering Ethereum node by node. So in empowering this network, it means we need to have more nodes running, right? So each node that runs, it's adding to the security of the network.
Yeah.
So that's in the same way we're empowering the network itself, node by node.
Amazing. I mean, talking about empowering, so does that mean I can run a node? And so can you shed more light as to
Beautiful.
how I can run a node, right?
Yeah, that's these are field of education we also really pushing, especially in in our community Nodebridge, right?
Yeah.
And in Africa. We try also to make the Ethereum community in Africa understand that Ethereum is a permissionless system.
Absolutely.
Like the way the system is built is you really don't need any permission to do what you need to do. Like there are rules already there, there are systems, there are mechanisms that have been designed, and it's decentralized. So it means anybody, anywhere can actually run these nodes as long as you have the requirements, right? You have the basic requirements. And the good part about the Ethereum network is the community globally also are finding ways to break down a lot of different barriers for people to run these nodes. But yeah, like your question, you can actually run this node from anywhere, be you who or any time. Like you could do that.
Okay. So still on the question, if I can run a node, we have the part of if you want to be like a validator node, you have to say stake 32 ETH. Do I have to really do that? I mean, if I don't want to run a validator node, what are the other options to like run, will I say a minimal, like not so costs, how will I put it now? Not so expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So so in running nodes, there's what they call staking nodes and non-staking nodes.
Okay.
Right. And all of them are very important. So when I talk about the non-staking nodes, so these are not, you don't need 30, like you are not staking 30 Ether. Right. And the importance of that for we to have more non-staking nodes is that you also add to the attestation, right? So every transaction that is being made, right, you as a non-staking node also attestate to those transactions or to those blocks, right? So for imagine you have a lot of people keep attestating, right? You are breaking the barrier of the security, like you're actually making the security very tight, right? So the caveat of that is that you are not getting any reward, right? You're not getting any reward, but you're actually securing. Those are the real MVPs of the network itself. Because obviously you're really making the network stronger. But for the non-stake, for the staking nodes right now, you're doing the same thing. But right now you're now validating transactions. You're proposing blocks, right? You're proposing blocks and the likes, and then you're getting rewards for doing that. But you also have to stake 32 Ether, right? You also have to stake 32 Ether. So, but just to also mention this quickly, 32 Ether is a lot of money, and then you have like different systems right now which are solving that. Like different systems. You have DVT, you have Lido CSM, you have Rocket Pool, right? Etherfi. These are different organizations also finding different mechanisms to solve the barriers of entry.
Yeah. Amazing. Just to confirm, is attestating, like you mentioned, same as validating?
Attestating, it's more of you're confirming.
Okay.
Like you're confirming that this is correct. Like this transaction is correct. Right. And then validating, you could see it from a point that you're actually validating it. So how the Ethereum network works is you have what in the mechanism you have what they call the rundown. So the rundown randomly selects a validator to validate a transaction. So that validator get to validate a transaction, right? And in doing that validation, right, it means they are adding that transaction into the block, right? So that means this. So the difference now is this. We could say this is actually confirming, which is attestating, right? It's confirming to what the validator has validated. So we could put it from that perspective.
Okay, I get it now. Yeah, thank you for that explanation. So for newbies, what are the tips that you can share for somebody looking to like run a node? Take for instance somebody who's just like interested and wants to run a node. What are those things that you'd share right now for them to like look out for?
First thing, education. You have to get to educate yourself, right? join communities, right, that are also doing this, right? So education, that's the first thing. And there are so many communities, there are so many resources out there. One resources also I can point you directly with is the Staker community. Also the Nodebridge, we have also some documentation about resources. So you could also look into that. Or Staker also have like a very good curated resources. Obviously, there are AIs right now also that you could ask questions about it. But first thing, education. And the other thing also is curiosity. You actually have to be curious. Like, be curious enough to like check out things and try things out, right? So for just like my own journey into running these notes, I was just curious enough to like play out, how does this thing play? And then I was curious to start studying, taking up resources, learning how all of these things work. So I think my takeaway for beginners will be, first thing, education. Second thing, be curious enough to like check out things and try things practically.
Okay, that makes sense. I'd also like you to talk about, say, the requirements.
So right now, the minimum requirement to run an Ethereum node, you have like you need to so you have first the hardware requirements. So for the hardware requirements, you need like a 4-core system and above, right? You need a 2 terabytes. So, and then you also need like a 16 gig RAM, right? Obviously, you need to have power supply, 24 hours power supply.
Absolutely.
You also need internet, like at least, let's say 15 MB or 20 Mbps per second. So with these basic requirements, you can actually start running a node as a non-staking node. Then if you want to have like a staking node, you could now talk about having like the Twitter and the like. So, but yeah, these are like basic requirements in running an Ethereum node.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go back to the fact that, of course, there are like challenges, right? But what are the major challenges?
So in Africa, in general, we have like some unique challenges, which is like lack of internet infrastructures, right? It's not like we don't really have these internet infrastructures, but they are really not as adequate or good to say, right? And also we have lack of electricity. Our electricity infrastructure is also not good to say. Also, lack of education, right? So we have lack of education, internet, electricity, right? I think these are like the first basic barriers. Then you can now come later into like the Twitter barrier, the hardware barrier. But these three basics are like the first bigger challenges we get to have in Africa. In Nodebridge, we get to solve these challenges. We're trying to find different ways. So currently now, we run nodes on solar systems, right? We have like a portable solar systems that help us to run this node to solve the electricity challenge. We also run these nodes on Starlink, right? Also to solve like the internet infrastructure challenge. And then obviously Nodebridge Africa, we do a lot of workshops, we do a lot of meetups, a lot of content, right? To actually also tackle the educational problems, right? And moving up like towards like the hardware perspective. So we also come up with like customs way to build your own node, which is quite cheaper and meets up the requirements, right? So these are like different researches also we have made and are actually practically working right now, right? So yeah,
really nice. I mean, talking about like the success stories or like running nodes, you know, in Nodebridge Africa, I think I saw your tweets about like being part of the Gnosis Validator set or part of like the validators on Gnosis. So how did that make you feel, you know, coming from like exploring all of the challenges and now being part of like the validators on Gnosis?
Awesome. So I think for us it's really make us feel good and better and really shows that these things are possible.
Absolutely.
Right? These things are possible. And again, they are not rocket science. I like saying that because a lot of people feel, oh, probably running this node is a lot of big work. Or big stuffs. So so it makes us understand these things are not rocket science.
Yeah.
So for us, it makes us feel good, like but it calls for more work, for more research. Running a Gnosis chain mainnet, obviously, because Gnosis, like, you just need like one Gnosis token, one Gnosis token, which is about like $300 right now, right, to run this thing. So it was really, really good. It was really, really good for us.
Yeah. So apart from Gnosis, what other chain are you guys looking to like be a part of their validator set?
Yeah. So for us, it's the Ethereum is like, just like we said, the Ethereum is like it's a world machine.
Yeah.
Like, so you have like the layer 2s, you have also side chains, right? So right now we're also testing. Currently now we're also part of the Aztec network, right? We're also part of their network, trying to test their sequencer and their prover right now. So also we're trying to run some L2s, right? Also playing with different L2s also. But yeah, as long as it's part of the Ethereum network, the Ethereum community, they're like different networks we are believing to like also run in Africa.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time I was also chatting with you about like running a node, and I think I saw a tweet from Vitalik, and I'd be like, I think we need to be able to like fix this part, especially like the geographical diversity, where that Africa needs to also be like on like the forefront of people running nodes in Africa. I think you guys are doing like a great job. And when I saw the tweet about like the Gnosis one, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is like a great fit. Yeah, well done, guys. I mean, that's a lot. So moving forward, how do you keep yourself updated? In this, I'll not say it's a new niche per se, especially in Africa. I think in Africa it is. People are looking to like dive into it. I'm not so sure people take their time. Most of the things that you have mentioned is education. How do you guys find resources? Is it through newsletter or YouTube or documentation? How do you guys like navigate the education part?
Yeah. So if I get the question correctly, how do we get updated? How do we stay updated in the space?
Yeah.
So the blockchain space entirely, or the technology space entirely, is a fast growing space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's very interesting when you see you're trying to grab something. The next thing you're seeing is that there's a new upgrade, right? Probably now you're trying to understand, oh, how does this node work from this perspective? Or talking about it, so I could also give an example. Currently now, just like I mentioned, the minimum requirement to run a node, I just said, is like 2 terabytes, 16 gig RAM. But I can tell you currently now, that requirement has been broken down.
Nice.
So there's a client called Aragon, right?
Yeah.
Aragon currently now, with a 1 terabyte SSD, you can actually run a mainnet, 1.1 terabyte. You can run a mainnet node, right? So, and so many other things have been broken down. So as we keep going, so how do we get updated? How do we stay updated? First, we also get to join several communities. We have to be part of several communities.
Absolutely.
Also go to conferences. Right. Like obviously I was in DEF CON, and I heard about how they were also the Ethereum community also is trying to work on the Beam chain, right? So which is also, so these are like different ways you get to have conversations, right? Obviously our newsletters, right? Different communities, whether on Discord or Signal or Twitter, right? We get to also get those informations from there, right? And then like in the Ethereum ecosystem, I think there are also different forums, right, where discussions also are happening, right? So we also get to like be part of those kind of discussions and see what is happening from there.
Yeah, amazing. So let's talk about like the benefits, right? I mean, why should I actually run a node, right? Like the monetary part, and also say other type of like benefits.
Yeah. So running a node, especially in the Ethereum ecosystem, right? I keep saying, especially from an African point, the profits, the financial benefits it's not really, really, will I say lucrative, but it's not really, really attractive, right? So if I talk about, you get, so for instance, I think a good average is for running a node, you're staking 32 Ether. I think annually you get like 1.5, 1.7 Ether, right? If I'm correct, right? So if you weigh your investment over like your returns, you see that it does not really sell well, or it's not a good investment. Also, just like I said, now there's also like CSM, Lido CSM, that allows you to like come with like 2 Ether bond or 1.5 Ether bond, and then they provide you many Ether for you to like stake.
More like a pool, right?
More like a pool, right? But it's really not like we could just put it from that side. So for benefits, we could look at you running your node, right? So you have sovereignty of your data. So you're sure of what data you're querying. Like you're having your node, so you're connecting to the Ethereum network directly. You're not using through a third-party RPC. You are also connecting through your own RPC. So you're sure of that RPC. Also, you can send transaction through your own node if you're running your own node. Right. At the same time, also now you're making Ethereum truly decentralized. Like just like I said, in the next years to come, we also want to be here and see these networks thriving and becoming better. Then the other part of benefits also will be, in Africa, one of the things I keep saying is Africa is that place where we will have a lot of use cases of the blockchain. So it means in some few years, which is already happening, we have a lot of mainstream products building in Africa. So when we have these mainstream products in Africa, right, and they want to query some data, and now these nodes are not locally available here, so the latency will be high, right? And then that could also affect these products or this project, right? So when you have nodes running in Africa, right, you could have like good queries, like the latency will be very low, right? You could have like good data fetching quickly and all of those things. So these are like literal benefits for running nodes in Africa.
I think the last point kind of like resonates with me, because I mean, you can easily like fetch data because your nodes are around the center where your region is. That's like one really cool benefit. And the monetary part, I think most persons will be like interested in money. So now hearing that, it's not really attractive, might like put some people off. Like, do I really want to like run a node? But I think other benefits actually also does make sense. Trying to make Ethereum truly decentralized, right? So what are your like final thoughts, right, on running a node in Africa, and where do you see this in like the nearest future?
So I think one first thing I want to tell the whole Ethereum community, not just in Africa, is we all have to put our hands together to actually push these things, push running nodes from a geographical point of view, right? So I urge every African, every Ethereum believer, every Ethereum community person to like run nodes, right? To like support to run nodes in different geographical locations. So this is like my final.
Yeah, thank you very much. I had like an amazing time chatting with you about the niche, because it's not actually common in Africa, and you guys are like doing a great job. And I'm excited because I mean I've seen quite a number of ecosystems with the requirement to like run a node. I think for Phantom they have like 50 million. For Kaya you have to own like 5 million Kaya, and quite a number of like ecosystem yada yada like that. So I think that this is a really, I won't say lucrative from like the monetary part, but from the standpoint of making the network secure, I think it's like a good one. And we have come to the end of like the interview. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to having more conversations in the nearest future. Thank you very much for watching. We have come to the end of this episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. And see you in the next one. Bye for now, guys.